Hi, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. Well, I have a story, probably especially for the kids, about when I was a little girl. When I was a little girl, my family would travel almost 500 miles to go and see my grandparents that lived in San Francisco. And it was a lot of excitement when we went to do that because my grandmother was a very good cook, and she would make something very special called coconut candy. See, my grandma came from Puerto Rico, and that was one of the things that she knew how to make that was my favorite. In fact, my brother Frank really loved it too. She would take a coconut and she would poke a hole in it and dump out, actually 2 holes, and dump out all the water that was in the coconut. And then she would break it in 2. Take a hammer and break it. She would take all the white meat out of the coconut, and then she would grate it on a grater. You know, like grated cheese, only it's coconut. And she would get a pan very hot, and she would put that coconut that was grated in that pan, and she would add sugar to it, only sugar. And she would stir it, and so it was white coconut with white sugar, and she would stir it till the sugar caramelized. You could tell that had happened when it turned a beautiful golden brown. And when it did, that sugar would melt and it would stick all that coconut together. Then she would put butter in a pan all over it so it wouldn't stick, and dump all that hot coconut candy into the pan to cool. And it would cool, and it would get where she could cut it into chunks, and we would get a piece of coconut candy. Ooh, I loved that. Well, another thing that used to happen was my mom would take me to go get shoes. My mom liked shoes. I was a very little girl. I might have been maybe 1st grade or 2nd, maybe even 3rd. I don't know, but I was pretty young. And I was so excited whenever I'd get a pair of shoes. I thought they were so pretty. And my mom would say, "Now, Maria, do these fit? How do they feel on your feet?" Well, they always felt great. And so I would get the new pair of shoes. Well, when we got back home and I would wear them to go to school, they didn't feel quite as good because they were a little bit too big. And so they would rub the back of the heel of my foot. And pretty soon they would rub that skin off. And then the back of my foot hurt a lot. And then I didn't like wearing the shoes anymore. So that felt like a waste of money to my mom and my dad. So the next time we'd go to San Francisco and I'd get a pair of shoes that I loved because they were so pretty, Mom would say, "Maria, do those shoes feel good? Do they hurt your foot in any way?" And I'd say, "Oh no, these fit really good." But when I got home, the same thing would happen. Those shoes would rub the back of my foot till they rubbed the skin off it. That really hurt. Have you ever had that happen? Well, finally my dad got tired of it. And do you know what my dad did? I was out swinging on a swing that was hanging from a branch of a tree. And my dad came out. I was barefoot because my shoes were hurting my feet. And he came out with a pair of his big old work boots. And do you know what he did? he had me stop the swing, and then he held my little foot, and he put that big old work boot on my foot, on my little foot. Well, I didn't think that was very funny. Those work boots were ugly, and they were heavy, and they didn't fit. And they were ugly, did I tell you that? And my dad said, well, all of your shoes hurt your feet. So for now on, you're just going to have to wear my boots to school. I started crying like crazy. I did not want to wear my dad's boots to school. I didn't want to wear them anywhere. If I had to wear those, I didn't even want to go to school. Who wants to be seen wearing your dad's big old boots? Not a little girl, that's for sure. Well, my dad walked away and I was outside swinging with my dad's old boots on, crying my head off. And then I went inside and was able to take off the boots. And we ate supper. And I went to bed. By morning, I'd forgotten all about it. And I did not have to wear my dad's boots to school. I had to wear a Band-Aid, though, on the back of my heel so that it wouldn't hurt. And after that, I was very careful to try to notice if shoes were rubbing up and down the back of my heel before we bought them. And that made my mom and dad much happier, and it made me much happier too. Well, I thought you might like to hear that silly little story about when I was a little girl. All right, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I love you. I really do. But even more importantly, God loves you, and He always will. Good night. God bless you.